So energy comes from food, and I'm going to start by talking about carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, and then I'm going to continue with some of the most important minerals like iron. So let's see how carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins are transformed into energy in our bodies. When we ingest food, the food gets into the stomach. Here it's broken down by the stomach acid and then gets to the duodenum or the small intestine. And here you can see the small intestine lumen and the cells of the lumen here. And once these are broken down, they're taken by the portal vein, and they're taken to the liver, and the liver is going to play around with them, and it's going to turn them into molecules important for different functions of the body. So proteins are the building blocks of the body. Even the cell membranes, they have protein structures on them that functions as channels for different molecules that pass out and in the cells. Lipids, you will see them mostly as they're just fat, you know. You can see them on everybody out there, but they're part of the cellular membrane. Each cell has a membrane and it's formed of lipids. Now carbohydrates are very important as energetic in the energy production, and first the body is going to use carbohydrates for making energy. Then it's going to think about lipids, and on the third place is going to think about turning proteins into energy. But if there's enough carbohydrates, then the body is going to use carbohydrates for energy. If it runs out of carbohydrates and your body needs more energy, then it's going to be use lipids. If both of these are not available, then it's going to go for proteins and it's going to turn those into energy. But that's rare, because mostly on this is focused. So let's see. Carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. Glucose, it's a monosaccharide like fructose, which comes from fruits, for example, or galactose that comes from milk. Now it's broken down by enzymes. So this is an enzymatic reaction right there. These are polysaccharides. So bigger molecules will be broken down into smaller molecules like glucose. Now glucose, it's going to be transformed into pyruvate, so it's going to be broken down even further through some other enzymatic reaction into pyruvate. Now this whole thing happens in the cell cytoplasm, and the pyruvate is going to cross the membrane of the mitochondria and it's going to get inside. Now pyruvate, it's a free molecule, carbon molecule, and that's going to be broken down into acetyl-CoA, which is a 2-carbon molecule. And this acetyl-CoA, it's going to play a very important role into the Krebs cycle, so it's going to be reduced even more. Now this comes from the guy that invented where he discovered this cycle, And in the Krebs cycle, what we'll see, it's going to be different reactions. I'm not going to get into details, but what you'll have out from this, we'll have CO2, which is going to go to the lungs, and it's going to be exhaled out. It's going to form also water, and it's going to form also ATP, and which is the main ATP source, because see, when glucose turns into pyruvate, even here it's going to form some ATP, but this is a very small quantity, just 2 molecules. Here are formed like 36 molecules in the presence of oxygen. Now this is for glucose. If you're thinking about lipids, they're broken down through another enzymatic reaction into glycerol and free fatty acids. Now glycerol is going to get through the portal vein to the liver, while the free fatty acids will go into the lymphatic system. Now I want to tell you that here the lipids won't just get absorbed without bile that comes from gallbladder, so they need to be emulsified, and then they will be further broken down through enzymatic reactions. Glycerol is going to be turned into pyruvate, and the free fatty acids, after they'll get through the enzymatic through the lymphatic system, they will be reduced to acetyl CoA through a beta oxidation. It's a cycle, several times of beta oxidation cycles. So the proteins will be reduced into amino acids, and this is also because of an enzyme that is going to play a key role over there. Part of it's going to turn into nitrogen and then into urea, which is going to be turned into urine, and some of that 50% is going to be turned into pyruvate, and the other 50% is into acetyl CoA, and also into some of it is going to get into the Krebs cycle. So this whole thing, it's going to happen into the mitochondrion, which is the energetic powerhouse of the cell. Each cell has mitochondria. So this is pretty much how you get energy from carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. But for you to know, actually from lipids you can get more energy than from carbohydrates, almost twice as much as a molecule of carbohydrate offers. So what are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are sugars actually, but see, it depends very much on what kind of carbohydrates are you ingesting. Are you going for for regular sugar, or you're going to go for sugars that are naturally occurring in grain, for example, or in seeds, or in beans or nuts. So depends very much on the type of carbohydrates that you're going to use in this case for energy, because see, sugar is energy, but the processed sugar, it's pretty much that type of energy producing food. So Also, if you're thinking about lipids, there are good lipids and bad lipids, so you have to think about that too. Proteins also. There are vegetable proteins, proteins that are coming from veggies, and also proteins that are coming from meats. So you need to think about that as well when you're going to think about the quality of the food that you ingest in order to get energy. Yeah, I hope that all of this thing here makes sense, but this is pretty much the path that the food is turned into